Welcome to Spoilerin time, wherein, unlike Cordkillers, where we tell you how to watch what you want, when you want, where you want, we tell you the streaming services, we tell you the gear. This is where we talk about what we wanted to watch, and we spoil it with other people who have watched it. Or if you haven't watched it, now you've been warned. It's Spoilerin time. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me as always, Mr. Brian Brushwood. How you been?
Oh, heck yeah, dude. No, but I'm more expensive. Take two.
More expensive.
I'm more excited that we have a special guest this go around.
Yeah, Patrick Hester from Functional Nerds is sticking around after he and his co-host John Anelio's appearance on Cordkillers. Now, you've watched Justified a while back, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Multiple
so
times.
we will not be spoiling you on that. We'll merely be refreshing your memory, possibly. You have not watched this season of Mr. Robot, and we are going to spoil episode 4 of season 2 of Mr. Robot, but you did watch season 1.
Yes, I did.
And you felt no need to come back.
Oh, don't spoil it, spoilering. Hold
Not
on,
really.
save it.
All right.
Let's do the movie draft.
Well, hold on.
Oh, wait,
I always
stop.
give people a look at what's do we get. So Justified Mr. Robot. We're going to be talking about the movie Jason Bourne. We've got some email about Preacher, but we will not be talking about the season finale of Preacher till next week. And we have some follow-up on Stranger Things. Now go ahead, Brian.
Now do it. Do the thing. Tom. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah, Brian.
Did you get the memo?
What's the memo?
The one that said you're not supposed to still be in 4th place right now? Yeah,
Don't care.
you had a big movie. You had Star Trek Beyond come out.
Don't care.
So far, it's
Not a
made
problem.
how much?
What place I'm in now means nothing to me. What place I'm in 4 weeks after Suicide Squad comes out means everything.
Are we at the last release? Is this the last weekend?
I believe, Brian, that on August 5th of this week, Suicide Squad will release into theaters, thus ending the release schedule and the regular season of Summer Movie Draft. And then I know the number's in here, and I just scrolled past it. September 2nd will be the last day that domestic gross counts.
Man, can I tell you? I'm really surprised to say this, but I think it's going to be real close. But I think Night Attack is going to win. We're at 882. You're at 622, so we have a delta of $240 million, which alone, if we're just looking at Suicide Squad,
$260 million.
Sorry, $260 million. I would be like, yeah, maybe it'll make $260 million or whatever. But the mere fact that we seem to have an annuity with Secret Life of Pets and even Ghostbusters, I think is going to squeeze out still another maybe 20 more million. I think we're barely going to stay
Star
ahead
Trek
of you.
Beyond is also going to continue to deliver an annuity. It jumped up to $106 million this week. The question is not going to be decided by Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I honestly think Suicide Squad will make up that $260 million, or at least pretty close to it.
Sure.
What's going to happen is, can Star Trek Beyond continue to outgross the remains of Ghostbusters and Secret Life of Pets?
I'll tell you what, the last time we had a movie draft that was this close was when it all boiled down to me having Lincoln, and then I was screwed. I was out of it. Definitely Scott Johnson was going to win the winter movie draft, and then Lincoln got like 12 Oscar nominations and just barely eked out it last second. It came down to the exact last week. Which of course the rules are that it ends 4 weeks after the final release. So we'll see how it comes out. But I gotta say I like our chances right now.
I like your chances too. If I had to bet and I was not involved, I would pick you. But I don't think it's going to be decided until that final week.
Yeah, agreed. Regardless, we can definitely agree that it's one of the tightest movie drafts yet.
All right, let's get to some triage. And we know, Patrick, you've also watched Stranger Things, although you're not all the way through, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I think chapter 7.
So this email does not spoil particular episodes. It's from Gregory in New Orleans, Louisiana, who says, you may have missed the point on Winona Ryder's character in Stranger Things. We were complaining about the fact that she's a little too crazy sometimes. Not only is the show about 80s nostalgia, but the acting from that area as well. Clueless parents that don't know about what's going on in their kids' lives equals any John Hughes film. Dusty, the weird kid who can dislocate his shoulder, equals Chunk from The Goonies with the Truffle Shuffle. In John Hughes films, the kids aren't called by their full names. Nancy is Nance, Barbara is Barb. And Winona Ryder's character is being portrayed by every Stephen King movie, a frantic, screaming, overacting character.
I can't pretend like I know what's in the hearts of the creators, directors, the Duffer Brothers when they did all this, but it just feels a little bit too reachy. Like, there are enough intentional nods, the setting being the early 80s, riding around, kids riding around on bicycles, a lot of the stuff that we remember from movies in those eras. Certainly there are elements of it that reminds me of like Explorers and so on. But at some point, once you start trying to find signal, whether it's there intentionally or not, you're going to find it. And I think that might be a little bit of what's happening here.
Patrick, how did Winona's performance strike you? Did it bug you?
Yeah, she's kind of out there. And I don't know if that was just a choice on her part or how that came about, because she definitely has that vibe going, right? Of the sort of the clueless parent who might have some addictions as well. You don't know. They kind of allude to like she had some problems.
For sure.
And the sheriff has had some problems. So I don't know. She's not my favorite character, I'll put it that way.
No, she's a cartoon character, which is unfortunate because the children are acting with more gravitas and reality to them than she is. And you might say, oh, well, that's on purpose because we're going to decide all the parents are cartoons and the kids are the real ones. But all the other adults are adults, real people. Like, she just seems out of place for it. To me.
Now, if you do like the acting of, say, Millie Bobby Brown, who plays 11, Boss Rob, he's our boss. I don't know if he goes around calling himself Boss Rob, but I kind of hope he does now.
Man, I hope he gets those Duke boys.
Check out Millie Bobby Brown's appearance on NCIS Season 12, Episode 6, Parental Guidance. Her acting was so from that one episode. I recognized her in Stranger Things. It is definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, wow. No, she's, again, she's in every way the real star of this whole program.
And finally, a quick Preacher follow-up. Valentine Mankey says, the reason that she had no problem sending the mayor into Cassidy is obvious. Earlier, the mayor said he wanted to spend the night and be there when the kids got up, even though Emily made it clear she didn't want a real relationship with him. This solved two problems, fed Cassidy, and got the mayor out of Emily's life. I'll agree that it definitely solved those two problems for her, but that still seemed like a bridge too far for what we knew of her character up till then.
Yeah, up until that point, they had never made it like Emily was on the teetering edge of maybe tolerating him or telling him to blow off or whatever. And this was, him saying, hey, I'm going to stay the night and take care of you and be a good supporting friend, like somehow was over the line enough that she would do that. So I don't know, half credit. I give half credit.
All right, let's start with our first spoiling target of today, Jason Bourne. Now, I saw this movie over the weekend. My wife's huge fan of the Bourne movies. I am a appreciator of them as well, so I am more likely to like them than, say, the normal average person. And I saw that. Brian, Patrick did not see them, but kind of all of us have seen this movie.
I mean, okay. Let's play a new game. Now, I have seen maybe half a trailer on this, but I know it's a Jason Bourne movie, has Matt Damon. Let me guess. He asserts his ability to subvert being used as a weapon and instead insists he's his own man.
Spoiler, Brian. Yeah, that happens later in the movie. Like, at first, he just doesn't want to be dragged back into the game. Right. He's dragged back in against his own indication. He just wants to go live under the radar. But Julia Stiles comes back in and says, hey, man, I found out even more secrets. We didn't think there were any secrets left to your identity, but I found one, and you've got to take a look at it. So let's run through a Greek riot, and I'll die, but you'll get the thumb drive.
Spoiler.
Yeah, right.
At what point, though, do they do battle against a bunch of other people in a dance-off?
Oh, you're thinking of Ghostbusters. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, there's no dance-off in this Jason Bourne movie. But yeah, they do battle against a lot of people, a lot of chase scenes, a lot of running around. And it's very much like Bourne gets dragged back in. Someone he cares about dies. So he has to go find out the secrets. And then he does. And then there's a sympathetic character on the other side who starts to help him. And then he wins at the end.
And isn't there also like there's the secret of how he became who he is, but there's also like the secret of the whole program, and yet everybody on the other side goes, "Oh wait, holy crap, that's Jason Bourne." So they all know
Yeah.
who he is.
That's Jason Bourne. Where'd he come from? Well, it's when he first shows up on a camera, because they're tracking Julia Stiles' character, and they know she's after the secret info. But then when they realize that Bourne is there, that's when they get surprised. But yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting part of this is that they drag Julia Stiles and Tommy Lee Jones back into it. Not Matt Damon makes sense to me, but they not only drag them back in, but both of them must have Harrison Forded this, because both characters die in a
that's
way
funny.
that would make it very hard to bring them back.
Well, isn't the next movie going to be Vin Diesel anyway?
The next Bourne movie?
Oh no, wait, that's Triple X. Return of
yeah,
what's his
no.
face, yeah.
I
mean,
haven't
they're all
ever
the
seen
same.
a Triple X, but then again, haven't I?
All right.
All right, let's talk about Mr. Robot, season 2, episode 4, which
First of all, let's talk about why 1/3 of us refuses to even give it a chance. Let's get that out in the open.
So I watched the first season. I did. And I was enjoying it. But as the season crept on, I kept starting to ask myself, and I think this was intentional on their part, what's real and what are his delusions? Right? Because you get the sense that he's self-medicating. He has some issues. I think he's bipolar. Is that correct?
Well, you finished the first season, right?
Yes.
Okay, they fairly clearly illustrate that that he has full-on multiple personality disorder.
Right.
Yeah.
And as that's building over the season, though, it's like when you're reading a book, you're watching a show, something like that, you don't want to be tricked necessarily, right?
Whoa, buddy.
If you're in on it, it's okay. But if you're going along and you're feeling like this is going in weird directions that you weren't expecting, why would you continue watching it?
So, if I could restate, if I'm understanding you, it's one of the things we're doing these days is every Friday we do a giveaway video on the Scam School channel, and we figured out that the goal is not to keep people from figuring out our secret hidden code, because we put secret messages in there. The goal is you want it to be satisfying to those who figure it out, and everything clicks together, and you feel like after it's revealed, you're like, wow, all the pieces really were in front of me the entire time. Now, we have figured out that a very cheap way to not, to reduce the amount of right answers is to just add so much noise around that it's like there's so many red herrings, so many things that you just don't feel like you want to bother to do it. And that is a not satisfying end to it. And it sounds to me like there's just too many red herrings in Mr. Robot for you to feel like was a satisfying ending.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree, because even the red herrings have been immensely satisfying for me to worm my mind around. That moment, the one scene where we see Elliot talking to Tyrell's wife, like you watch that scene and it was strange and powerful in its own right, but it's doubly cool to watch it imagining that Elliot is a figment of Tyrell's imagination and everything still tracks. It still plays or whatever. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I like that a lot more. But then again, there's so many. It's so rich. Like there's a brief moment in this week's episode, Tom, where you see the instructions of what Elliot is supposed to do to do the site migration, and I just wanted to install Linux and start learning how to follow those instructions, because I know nothing is done by accident on this show.
Yeah, this was a beautiful episode. I was sucked in, and we sit down to watch these shows, and sometimes I'll watch Justified, and I'll say, okay, I need to watch this, and it's certainly not a bad show. It's a good show, so I'm going to enjoy it. Then there are other times where I sit down and I say, okay, I need to watch Mr. Robot. It's certainly not a bad show. It's a good show. Wow. I forget I'm watching it because I need to. And this was one of those episodes. Not every episode of Mr. Robot has been like that for me, but this one just... like using that fake movie at the beginning to give me the backstory, getting to see Elliot put the mask on for the first time and the Mr. Robot jacket, and wondering is he going to turn into Christian Slater? Is he going to do a Christian Slater-y voice? Am I going to be disappointed if he does that? I mean, I was played like a fiddle by them in this episode, and everything just flowed in a way that made me hungry for the next bit, even if I kind of knew it was coming. The chess game was fantastic, and the fact that they got stalemated was kind of, to me, the only way that could work, because we can't get rid of Christian Slater's character.
By the way, if I had the time, unfortunately, I watched it just minutes before we went live. But if I had the time, I was going to go back and verify that each of those games were played correctly, and they actually did end with real stalemates.
Normally, I wouldn't care, but this particular show is so good with those details. I'm curious to know too.
People have gone through and found that those are real games, but they are
theoretical.
Unlikely. They're theoretical. They're unlikely to be played because it would be like playing for stalemate.
Yeah, correct.
Basically.
Well, and in fact, as I watched as they confidently were playing, I was like, nobody's trying to take the center of the board. This is a nonsensical game. I'm so glad to hear you say that. That's exactly what I was hoping.
Yeah, it was just a masterpiece of an episode. And the thing that I love about this season is that knowing what's going on with Elliot makes him even more interesting. And in fact, in some ways, I start to agree with Patrick in retrospect, because that first season feels like a trick given how substantive Elliot's character is now, but you wouldn't have that substantiation without having gone through that first season.
Well, and now that I say, okay, here's the thing. Okay, time out. A couple of things. I just realized what a great metaphor the chess game is, because it does show the conflict between Mr. Robot and Elliot's dominant personality. But more importantly, it underlines, and I didn't see it until just now, a good story, just like a good magic trick, is a chess game between the director and the audience as well. We've been given all the elements. We're seeing them move around, and we're trying to get one step ahead. And that, the whole first season, I don't want to say ruined, but I'm going to say you can kind of undercut all their big moves by saying it's Fight Club, the TV show. And if you figure that out, then you could be one step ahead pretty much the whole way through. We no longer have that now. Now we don't know. Like they're playing with us, not only with we have a new character, and we also see them playing with time, jumping forward and backwards without any of that ham-handed, like 1 year ago. Like you don't get to be told when things take place. It's up to you to figure out the context clues to know when this vignette is happening. And they're even playing with us in the previously on segments, because in the previously on Mr. Robot, they specifically cut out, and I don't know the guy's name, the guy from The Office, Hot Tub Time Machine. They cut him out saying, "Oh, you play chess? I've been looking for a new adversary." And in the context of it being a previously on, is like, oh wait, this isn't just a guy. This isn't a friend. This is somebody that they're specifically telling me right now is meant to be set up as an adversary, that they're going to have a conflict against each other.
You want to play chess? Yeah, no, exactly.
It's great. It's great. And by the way, every single second of Tyrell Willick's wife on screen, she just chews it up. Like she is the star of the show to me right now. Like she has this magnetic, black hole, hypnotic, like there's something, I can't even put words to it, but there's something about her that's fascinating, and yet she's done literally nothing to merit that. That's been purely her presence that has sucked us in so far.
She's actually not had that effect on me, and I'm not sure why. But to me, it was like we haven't got we're giving me little pieces of her story, so it hasn't really hit me that way. Not that she hasn't done a great job with that, but I feel like that's a mystery that's going to be a slow build until later. I'm far more curious about Angela and why he played the I don't know what you're talking about, and Angela said, no, I'm right about this. I believe Angela is right about that. I believe he's trying to outbluff her, and I have no idea what the next move of either of them is going to be about that case.
Man, can I tell you, it was a bitter pill to swallow, and I understand in order to tell a good story, you have to have a perpetual near stalemate on both sides. And so it made sense to flip Angela from friend of the hero to a being seduced by the villains. But somehow we got to this point where I'm buying it. Like, I'm buying her becoming one of the villains at this point.
No, I am too. And it was crazy when he had that imaginary dinner party where everybody just got along.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Oh, did you notice that music? What's the Green Day song? Welcome to Paradise. It was another. It just like they did with Where Is My Mind. They did a similar, beautiful piano version of that song.
Yeah, I've got to go through my head now, and I can't remember.
I am one of those melodramatic fools. Yeah.
That was like a little sip of water to be like, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if Elliot's life was like this? I mean, it's not, and it couldn't be. But really, isn't that interesting? To it's like, God, that's what he needs. That's what he needs to escape, and he'll never get it.
Well, and that's again the brilliance of the direction of the show. I one of my favorite magic tricks in my magic stage show is that during the straitjacket, I do I wrap up my show with a very traditional straitjacket escape, and in it is the conceit of if I escape in time, and I'm clearly doing it with a wink and a nod or whatever, then, hopefully you guys will leap to your feet, making more noise than ever, and I'll get the standing ovation I've always dreamed of, right? And we're all in on the joke together during it. So when everybody jumps up and gives a big applause at the end, I know they're doing it because that's the construct. We're all performing together. But years later, they're not going to remember that part. They're just going to remember that the show was good, and at the end, they leapt to their feet and applauding. And I feel like moments like that dinner table thing are the same thing. We know this is a flight of fancy for Elliot, that he just wishes this would be the case. We will not remember why we got to that moment, but we will remember that picture going forward, I think.
Yeah. I also like that they have an FBI person who's smart enough to figure it out, and also smart enough that when someone says they're not that smart, to go like, well, we didn't figure this out, because that feels like a normal trope that in season 1 I would have looked at as a letdown of like, oh, they're going really normal with the FBI investigation. But at this point, it's like, gosh, we need something that is familiar, right?
Yeah.
It's great to be departing from the norm as much as they do, but give me something to lean back and be like, all right, that's something that I would expect and is familiar. And you're building up a new nemesis for Elliot to have to tangle with.
And not even a nemesis like a bad guy, just a new player to the game. Because I really like the character that they're building in this FBI agent. Like, she's very relatable. By the way, the song was Basket Case by Green Day.
Basket Case, thank you.
It was. The other thing, doggone, I lost it. Anyway. Oh, yes. By the very nature of acknowledging those tiny little thoughts in the back of your mind, they inoculate you against them. For example, when the guy says, what? An arcade that says F Society right out in front? Bit obvious, bit on the nose, don't you think? And it's like, no, they're audacious and brash, and they love taunting people. Of course,
hiding
it makes
things
sense.
in plain sight. Yeah,
exactly. And by saying that, it's like, well, now I don't have to think those things anymore because they already thought them for me.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Justified, episode 3 of season 3. And even though I just watched it yesterday, I find it hard to remember what happened because this is an episode where we are just moving towards something. We finally, at the end, get to see Raylan confront Wynn Duffy and what's his face, the new big bad, whose name?
Blondie McTaxi Driver.
Yeah, the guy from Arrow.
Talking about inoculation. The mere fact that his gimmick, his superpower is to whip out a gun at all times. He full on, they owned it. And he's like, yeah, when I was a kid, my dad, other kids watch cartoons. My dad showed me Taxi Driver. So that's why I love doing this, and I'm oiling it, and it's got to work every time. And that's my gift. So I guess working backwards, the end scene is that face-off with Wynn Duffy where he's like, no, I'm going to let you have it now.
Robert Quarles, who always quarrels a bit with everyone who shows up. Maybe that's all I remember.
Is that the character or the actor?
That's Taxi McBlondie Driver.
Okay. Taxi McBlondie. That's it. So, but Taxi McBlondie has a really great presence And I loved that moment in the face-off at the end where it's like they're looking at each other like, oh, what are they going to do? They're both going to both use their superpower on each other. Who's going to win? But instead, just suddenly flash as he takes the photo of him like I'm watching you and off he goes.
Almost more aggressive.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it obviously isn't more aggressive than shooting someone, but it felt more aggressive.
It did. What did you think of Boyd? Explain to me, sell me on the whole Boyd wants to take over a bar thing. Like, why was that necessary? What did that bring to everything?
Yeah, if I had to come up with a justification for that, because it is a little weird. One is it's sentimental, right? So that was a family property. That was part of the Crowder empire. So he wants to have that back, and it's familiar. And there's a certain bit of practicality there. Where, we need to have a base of operations that's not one of our house, that, has a back room, that has a front outside where it's not easy to tell who's coming and going, which is why it was used in the past by my dad anyway. So let's just take it back for ours. All that said, it still felt a little like, hey, we've got that bar set. We shouldn't let that go. Let's have Boyd go take it over.
Yeah.
The Peach Pit.
Yeah, exactly. The Peach Pit. It's now the Peach Pit after dark because you're in your 20s now. Hey, we can still use it. Agreed.
Don't you think there's a theme there, though, that it's Boyd? Boyd is trying to take back everything that was, in his mind, taken from his family.
Yeah, but but even Boyd has not struck me as somebody because we've seen him try on a bunch of different suits. It's harder for me to get the sense that he's a driven man with a singular purpose, because he's much more like a goldfish who keeps discovering the other side of the bowl to me. And maybe that'll change going forward. But whereas somebody like Dickie has clearly had one ambition to be above his station the entire time.
Yeah, and we got a little bit of weird, like there was that scene with Dickie in the prison yard talking with Dewey and the guard, and he's like, dude, I don't really know anything, which is very much setting us up, and I understand we need it, but it stuck out because we never go back there. We never see anything else happen in that area in that episode.
Yeah. We continue to see Ava growing into her role as crime queen.
I mean, the other thing I'll say about this episode is we had the whole Fogel story with the pawn shop,
which I loved. I thought that was
Raylan
great.
coming in and saying, well, let me just tell you. And it was like, this is what I love Raylan Givens for. This would have been in the season 1, the monster of the week crime story.
Yep.
They weaved it into the larger plot though, and it worked even better. And that's one of the reasons that it's hard for me to remember what happened is that was the main story, really,
right.
But it was a very typical Raylan Givens story, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But it just connected me from one point to Robert Quarles.
Yes.
Have you guys read any of the stories?
No.
None of them. Okay. So there's a lot of little callbacks to stories, and a lot of the things, especially in season 3, call back to the novel that he published, which is Raylan, and then I think also in season 4. But the short stories and everything, you just get these little senses and bits of flavor throughout season 3, little things that happen. And it kind of sneaks up on you. But if you've read the stories, you sit there and you go, oh, it's like an Easter egg for you. You're going, wait a minute, I remember this now. This was in such and such story.
Yeah. No, that's great. And in fact, the experience you're describing is what I expect to have happen when we finally watch the Gunslinger, the first Dark Tower movie coming out later on. It's going to be, we don't know what pieces or elements or what's going to be new. And in fact, same thing with Game of Thrones, right? And less now that the movies or the shows are ahead of the books. But when stuff shows up, you're like, when the Red Wedding was getting ready to have, you're like, oh man, it's happening.
Yeah. Well, and that's really good to know because it gives me greater appreciation for this crew and this writing crew and directing crew, because nothing ever feels like I'm missing something. I never see a scene and go, well, that's obviously some allusion to the books I never read because I don't understand why that's there. And I never get that feeling.
Right.
No, and you shouldn't. But a lot of times it's also something that they're setting up that's going to be relevant later on.
Well, that is it for this episode of Spoilerin Time. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's thank again our guest, Patrick Hester. Let folks know where they can find more, what you do online.
I do a podcast with John and Elio. It's on functionalnerds.com. And then if you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at ATFMB and John is at John and Elio.
Excellent. Brian, we spoiled them.
We spoiled them all.
Does he always call you excellent, Brian?
I like that. Everyone could call me that from now on.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.